There's nothing Paul likes as much as receiving feedback about the Joy of Cruising podcast. You can now send him feedback via the message link on each episode. He can't respond, but he may read your text on air. Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising trilogy, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again. Each book is a compilation of features about cruisers and cruise and travel personalities from around the world. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul, and I am delighted to welcome back to the Joy of Cruising podcast, Matt, creator of Cruise Life Matt. I first met Matt on Instagram, mainly due to the prevalence of stunning cruise ship drone photos on his feed that caught my eye, leading me to dub him the best cruise ship drone photographer on the internet. Last summer, it was my pleasure to host Matt on the Joy of Cruising podcast. I follow Matt on social media and recently started seeing both some stunning Icon of the Seas drone photos from Matt, as well as his mouth-watering food photos from Icon. As you know, Icon is the new largest ship in the world, which launched just a few months ago. I've had a number of passionate cruisers on the podcast to share reflections of their cruise on Icon, and I thought it was timely to invite Matt back to provide his perspective, with a special emphasis on Icon's food. Welcome back, Matt, to the Joy of Cruising podcast.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate you having me on again.
So how you been doing?
Doing pretty good. The weather's starting to get nice up here in the Northeast, and hockey season has taken a hiatus, so I'm not living in a ice rink with my kids for at least the next few months. And I have a sailing coming up this week, so life is good.
Oh, where you going?
I am headed to Valiant Lady, sailing on Wednesday.
So I know you've been on Virgin before. Is this your first time on Valiant, or you've been on that as well?
First time on Valiant, second time on Virgin overall.
Oh, this only the second time? Seems like.
Yep.
I thought it seems like every once in a while, I see a nice drone photo of you of a Virgin ship.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, I'm catching them in Miami or something. I'm not necessarily sailing on them.
Okay.
So that's probably what you're seeing.
Okay. So before we discuss what's been up with Cruise Life Matt since you were last here in the summer. Tell our listeners about yourself, where you're from, where you live, professional background, anything you would like to share.
Yeah, so I currently reside in Manchester, Connecticut with my two kids. They are 11 and 9. I was born and raised here in Connecticut. I've never lived anywhere else. I am an accountant for a gas turbine service provider. It's kind of my day job, if you will. It's sort of what funds my cruising addiction. And both of my kids and myself, we play hockey. It takes up a lot of our time, especially in the months between September and March. Like I said before, during that time, it kind of feels like we live at ice rinks. We also do some traveling outside of cruising. We used to have an RV and did a lot in that. We don't have it anymore. But we're still trying to do a lot of camping. Fortunately, a lot of campgrounds now have cabins and rentals. And we're actually going to be heading to Camp Margaritaville in Auburndale, Florida next month. So we're looking.
Camp Margaritaville, is that new?
No, it's not new. I think has been around for a handful of years. We were actually down there last summer, probably shortly after our you having me on the podcast last year, and we loved it. I did some drone work for them, and and it was it was a good fit, and they offered to have us back again this year. I said we would love to, but we don't have the RV, so we're going to be staying in a cabin this time.
Okay. Icon of the Seas. So I've had several passionate cruisers on talking about their experience on Icon of the Seas. I feel like I know the ship. I know every inch of the ship, and haven't been on it yet. But I can't hear enough about it, which means that there's no question it is subtly sliding onto my bucket list. And you had a different perspective because you had, in addition to all of the great Icon of the Seas photos, you had a lot of food photos. So many that I was thinking about having you just talk about nothing but food. But you also had some nice drone photos, and I'd like to hear what that was like. But if I got you on here to talk just about Icon of the Seas food, then we wouldn't have time to hear about some of your other experiences. And I know that you haven't been idle since last July when I talked to you. But let's start with Icon. When's your sailer?
So I was on the March 16th sailing. I believe it was the sixth or seventh sailing after she launched her revenue sailings. Yeah, I mean it's a game changer for sure. So spending a week on board, I don't think it's enough. You can't do and see everything.
What was that cruise long planned, or did you go on an impulse given all of the hype you were reading and hearing?
So yeah, I booked it pretty much as far in advance as possible. I booked it the day that sailings became available. I think it was somewhere between a year and a half to 2 years out. I don't remember exactly how long it was, but literally the day it opened, I booked. And it was pretty much a good thing that I did because prices went nowhere but up from the time I booked until the time I sailed.
So you were lucky. Well, I shouldn't say lucky. You were
I,
smart.
Smart and lucky. I mean, to be honest, if I had to book that, a couple months out, I wouldn't have been going. That's how much
Uh-huh.
prices went up.
So tell us all about it from the moment you boarded the ship.
So, I mean, boarding was pretty seamless. Royal tends to do a really good job with embarkation. It feels like you never have to wait. You're kind of just like moving from check-in to going through security to stepping aboard the ship. It's like all one fluid motion. They do that really well, and it was no different on Icon. Um, from there, dropping the bags off in the cabin, heading down to Chops to make our specialty dining reservations for the week. It's really important to do that right away, especially on a ship this size and that many people. And after that, we went to Playmakers and had lunch. It's probably an appropriate time to say that I did have the unlimited dining package. So
Oh wow.
so every night was in specialty. We frequented places that did have upcharges just because we have allotments every day. So places like Playmakers, Base Camp, Pier 7. We kind of frequented all those places just because we had the ability to do so without any cost above and beyond the package itself.
Yeah, I on one cruise, kind of similar to your situation. One cruise, I got an unlimited dining package because they had so many specialty, so many food, upscale, upcharge food options, and the ship, very similar to Icon, although I'm sure Icon blows it away, was Symphony of the Seas. And that was a great ship to get a specialty dining package. So I can just imagine what must have been like on Icon. Now tell the listeners, just in case they're not aware, what does a specialty dining package entail?
So essentially, you can eat dinner every night in one of the upcharge or specialty restaurants, and it also allows you to have a sort of a stipend, if you will, for other venues that are a la carte, or may have a cover charge. And you can go. So essentially, I mean, you can go to lunch, you can go to dinner. I mean, anything in between. If it has an upcharge, it is covered under the unlimited dining plan. It really it was a great option on this ship. To be honest, I get it almost all the time now. Definitely on Royal, um, some other lines as well. I don't know if it's just my extensive cruising or what it is, but I've gotten to the point where I just the elevated food and the elevated level of service, and I feel like the timeliness of dining is a little bit quicker in the specialty restaurants versus the main dining room. So there's a lot of those things, and of course, like I'm creating content, so I want stuff that visually looks appeasing. So it's helpful to go to specialty restaurants where they have some things that are maybe plated better, or not your standard fare. So there's a number of reasons why I do it, but but in any case, pretty much almost across the board, I try to do specialty dining almost every night now when I cruise.
Yeah, I'm not quite where you are, but I'm getting there. I do specialty dining on every cruise,
Hmm.
but I've never gotten, except for that one time I mentioned on Symphony, I've never gotten uh, the unlimited. I always get a package.
Yep,
Uh, Sometimes, 3, 4, 5, depends on how long the cruise is.
of
It's
course.
funny. I was just kind of reflecting on that specialty dining package on Symphony and the one you're bringing up now on Icon. When I was writing my reflections of Virgin Voyages, because as you well know, their specialty restaurants are all included, and I was comparing that to, and I was on a 14-night cruise. I was comparing that to what it would be like to get a 14-night package, get an unlimited package for 14 nights on Symphony or on Icon. That's going to be a pretty nice chunk of change.
Of
So,
course, yeah. Virgin definitely
yep,
has a
yep.
an elevated level of dining, and it's like you said, it's in line with specialty dining on other mainstream lines.
Yeah, yeah. So what else was talk about? What kind of cabin did you stay in?
So I was in a standard ocean view balcony. It was just myself. I was sailing solo on this, so it was more than enough for me. I mean, I when it's just me, I honestly don't need a lot of space. And really, the only reason that I did get the balcony was, like I said, when I booked, super far out. I want to say it was only like maybe like a $300 difference to go from an inside to a balcony, and it just seemed like a kind of a no brainer, especially for a 7 day sailing.
Now, was that what Celebrity and Royal called the infinite balcony?
No, so I was not in an infinite balcony. I was in the standard.
Okay, okay. I was going. Have you ever been in an infinite balcony?
I have not.
Okay, they're very polarizing, and I was going to get your opinion on how you found it. I was okay with it, but a lot of people
Hmm.
hate them. What else? Well, tell us about what specialty restaurants did you try,
So
other
with
than all
having
other
said,
than all of them.
yeah, so we did do all of them. We also doubled up on two of them because there was only five dining options. Um, in a true dining sense, we could have gone to other places that were upcharged, but more of a like a what I'll call like quick eats type places. For dinner, we wanted to go sit down and have a proper dining experience. So we did Chops twice. We went to Hooked twice, which is Royal Caribbean's seafood restaurant. We went to Giovanni's, Izumi Sushi, and Izumi Hibachi.
Yeah, yeah. Hooked was on Symphony. It's the
Mhm.
only one I went to 3 times. Twice,
I,
twice for dinner and once for lunch.
yeah, I will say the food item that stood out to me the most on the entire 7 days was at Hooked, and it was the New England clam chowder. And being from New England, I'm kind of a clam chowder snob, if you will. It was some of the best clam chowder I've ever had in my life, and I was honestly surprised. It was that good.
Well, what did you think about the clam chowder on Virgin Voyages? Because I thought that was, first of all, I thought it was delicious, but secondly, I it was the nicest. I've never seen that presentation. And for
Yeah, that
those who haven't been on Virgin, the presentation is the ingredients like the clams and bacon and potatoes. Don't they come to you pretty much in a dry bowl, and then they pour soup over top of it? I thought that was a very nice presentation, and it was very good.
yeah that was at the Wake, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I recall. I did have that, and it was presented that way. Now that I'm thinking about it, yes, it was very good. I mean, I honestly everything I had on Virgin was good. So, um, but yeah, I've had that presentation before with a few other soups on cruises.
Really? Okay.
Specifically, yeah, that comes to mind is on Carnival. They used to have the strawberry bisque. It was a cold soup,
Okay.
and it would come in a plate just with a sort of like a cylinder of diced strawberries in the middle, and they'd put the bowl down, and then they would pour the soup around it
Oh,
in
okay.
a similar.
So did you try any of the new venues at on Icon?
I did. There's actually a few here that I've put in my notes because I wanted to make sure that I mentioned them. One of the new venues is the Pearl Cafe. So I know pretty much if you've seen anything on Icon, you know about the Pearl. It's that sort of futuristic dome-looking thing in the promenade. But behind it, there's a cafe, and it is a perfect option for a quick sort of grab and go breakfast. They have some seating areas around, and one of the specialty coffee places is right there. Not the Starbucks, but it is a similar type place. But anyways, they have like pre-made egg sandwiches, tons of pastries, donuts, and pretty much I want to say most days, maybe other than one of the C days, that's where I went for breakfast. It was a great option. I love that you could just kind of walk up, grab something pretty substantial. I mean, the egg sandwiches were really the drawing point for me. And it's ready in like 2 minutes. And so especially on the port days, you could kind of swing by there, grab a coffee, grab a breakfast sandwich, and be on your way. Um,
So that was your go-to. Did that take the place of Park Cafe?
they still have Park Cafe, but I'll tell you, I actually never went in there the entire 7 days.
Did you go in the Windjammer for
I
breakfast?
I did not go to Windjammer for breakfast. I did go in there for lunch one day, but that was the only one time I went to Windjammer the entire 7 days.
What else? What else did they have? Anything else new that you tried?
Yeah, so there's a place that's near the water slides, and before you get to the adults only area up on the pool deck in the aft of the ship, there's a place called Base Camp, and it's kind of similar, kind of grab and go ish. There's some items that they have ready. They have like hot dogs, tater tots, a few other items that are kind of just ready to go. But then there's also a few other sandwiches you can get that do take a little time to prepare. However, there's two menus there. So there's a menu of things that are included with your cruise fare, and then there are items that have upcharges. Now, of course, with the unlimited dining package, you can get whatever you want. Well, I shouldn't say whatever you want. You have a daily allotment there. I think it's $20. Um, But for free or complimentary, I should say, you can get hot dogs, tater tots, I think warm pretzel. There might have been one other thing. I can't remember off the top of my head, but everything else on the menu does have an a la carte price. Um, so we went there a couple times. It's super easy. Like it's just right there on the pool deck. And but if we were back in oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. What's the adults only area in the back? Hideaway. Um, and so we would hang out back there a lot, and it was a quick walk a little bit forward to base camp, and we would grab a little something to eat.
Now that name base camp, it implies, I don't know, space, or is it connected with the slide? I mean, why is it called base camp?
Yeah, it's kind of connected to the area where the slides and the mini golf and the rock climbing wall all are.
Okay.
But it's a big area in the middle that has seating for people to, kind of like a, hey, let's meet and have a little bite to eat. So it is a pretty big open space there, and there's like I guess picnic tables for lack of a better term. And yeah, it was just convenient.
With the unlimited dining package, and did you try at all the main dining room?
I did not visit the main dining room my entire voyage.
Mm-hmm. Can't say I blame you. I'm not knocking the main dining rooms, but
No, no.
clearly what the one time we had an unlimited, we never stepped foot in the main dining room.
Yeah.
Although, one tiny disadvantage of that, I don't know. I have this tradition. Every cruise I go on, if they have it, I have to get anchovies. Not
Hmm.
anchovies. I'm sorry.
Escargot.
Uh, escargot, and they always have it in the main dining room. So give me some more highlights of Icon.
Um, so I mean, she just has so much. I mean, sticking to food, there's a couple venues that I never even went to. Like I said, Park Cafe I never went to. There's a whole new sort of like a, I don't know, it's like a street eats feel, I guess. Up in the Aquadome, there's like three or four little grab and go venues in there. I just never even had the chance to go try them. I probably should have tried to squeeze them in, but as you know, it's like feel like you're already constantly eating on a cruise, and never mind one that has all these extra options. Um, I loved the I guess going away from food a little bit. There's a huge focus on families and kids. There's no getting around that, and it didn't bother me. I did not have my kids with me on this sailing, but it is definitely geared towards that. With that said, like I was talking about Hideaway, I think one of the biggest things that surprised me about this trip is the lack of crowding. Not once did I feel like I was waiting in line too long. Were there too many people around? And their new elevator system, I know it's not new, the concept is not new, but I feel like there is uh, an iteration of the software that has been upgraded on Icon. Their elevator system is flawless. I don't know that I ever waited more than 30 seconds for an elevator. um, I normally would avoid elevators on cruises where possible, especially if I'm going down the stairs. But I never had to wait for one, so I almost found myself taking the elevator more than I normally would.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the few things that we do, knowing that we're going to pig out on a cruise. One of the few things we do is try to walk the steps all the time. Uh,
Of course.
Icon, it sounds like, they want to make you try the elevator.
Yeah, well, and they have escalators, which
Oh, escalators open
is pretty
to
new
the
to, well,
customers.
the
I
public.
know,
Yeah.
a lot of.
I know they have them on other ships, like in the galley and such.
I don't know that I've ever seen an escalator on a cruise ship. I mean, I know other than in the galley, I'm familiar with the story where that first was done on Carnival, but I'm talking about public escalators. I've never seen that on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I have not either. I honestly, I think this may be the first. So,
Wow, that's interesting. So what food item stood out above all others?
I mentioned the clam chowder at Hooked already. I guess one of the other that's one that kind of took me by surprise. I just wasn't expecting it. But one of my sort of standbys that is always good, and it was no different this time, was the rack of lamb at Chops. Uh, just as good as always, and it's always one of my favorites. And I pretty much can't go there and not get it unless I'm going to visit Chops twice, and in that case, I may try something else the second time. But um, yeah, it's one of my go-tos for sure.
I love chops. What you have?
Like I said, the rack of lamb I had on one of the visits, and the other I had the New York strip. I believe I got shrimp cocktail both visits. And they have that key lime meringue, I
Oh
believe it is.
yes. Oh,
Dessert. Yeah.
the only thing I would get everything you mentioned. The only thing I didn't hear you mention was the mushroom soup.
I did not get the mushroom soup.
Although I did have a version on Virgin. Might match chops.
Okay.
Did you?
I'll have to keep my eye out.
Yep. Did you? The two things I've, and they're not complaints, criticisms. Well, kind of criticisms. Did you go on that? What's it called? That Crown's Edge?
I did not. The fee is a little bit steep for my liking. I would have done it if it was cheaper, but I I just couldn't I couldn't see paying. I think it was $80 to do that. I have heard that the prices come down though now. I
That's what I was just getting ready to ask you. I heard it's coming down, and that's good. they,
definitely.
they got called on that money grab.
Hmm.
So, and then the other complaint that I've heard, there's a place that sells boozy, not only boozy, some without booze, but boozy milkshakes. They're like $18, $19 milkshakes, and you can have the drink package, and they're not covered.
Yeah, I actually didn't go in there. I know what you're talking about. It's in uh the kids area there. It's off to the side. I'm drawing a blank on the name at the moment, but yeah, I actually never went in. Um, I honestly don't know why. I got off the ship, and a few days later, I think I saw something on Royal Caribbean's Instagram, and I was like, where was that? And so I asked one of my buddies that I was sailing with, and he's like, yeah, you didn't go in there. I was like, oops.
Well, I don't know if you would have gotten anything. $18 milkshakes. It's a lot.
Yeah,
That's
I would.
that's a lot of money, and that's before booze. So, uh,
Yeah.
in promoting this episode, I shared a few of your drone photos of Icon. And as you know, I refer to you as the best cruise ship drone photographer on the internet. So, say a little bit about what it's like to get drone photos of Icon. I know you don't want to give away any trade secrets.
Well, first off, I appreciate the moniker there. There's a lot of great drone pilots out there, specifically in the cruise niche, and a lot of us are good friends, and we definitely support each other, and we understand what we're all kind of doing, and you know the struggles of flying drones in different countries and all these things. And sort of on that topic, when I booked this sailing, I was a little bit nervous about the amount of drone flying I would be able to do, simply because we had two stops in Mexico. And up until a few months ago, you could not legally fly a drone in Mexico unless you were a Mexican citizen. And at the tail end of 23, or maybe it was January of 24, they've relaxed their laws a little bit. And in fact, if your drone is sub 250 grams, you don't need any authorization at all. You can just go fly. So that made a huge difference in the amount of flying I was able to do on this sailing. I was able to fly in Cozumel. I was able to fly in Costa Maya. And in Roatan, you're actually super close to the airport there, where the pier is, and you literally, like, you can't even take off. It will not let you. So I was a little nervous because of all those aspects and how much drone content I could actually get on a sailing. And when I found out about the changes in the Mexican law, it obviously opened the door quite a bit. But the ship is just spectacular. I mean, you've seen the photos, not just for myself, but a lot of others. I mean, she's not just massive, but she's so insanely colorful. She has so many things going on the top deck that it's just visually appealing. And the newness of it is obviously exciting because not everybody's been on it. I mean, like I said, when I sailed, it had been sailing for like 6 or 7 weeks. So, it's exciting to get those kind of shots, especially when it's a brand new ship. And one of the coolest things that I sort of got to capture was the comparison shots when she's docked next to another ship. I was fortunate enough in Costa Maya, she was docked next to Enchantment of the Seas. Perfect scenario where you don't have like multiple cruise lines in the same shot. It was just those two ships, and it was really, really a cool perspective. In fact, I just posted one of them yesterday on Instagram, and it's just such a cool thing to see. I mean, in its day, Enchantment was a
Yeah.
big ship, and you look at it, and it's like, oh, is that Icon's like tender boat? you know, uh, it's just really cool seeing the comparison shots of them side by side. That's probably one of the coolest things about being able to get the drone shots, um, and being able to share those and sort of the wow factor of it all, right?
Now your drone photos, correct me if I'm wrong, have been used by cruise lines, right?
They have.
So,
So in some cases, it's simply sharing, and sort of it's beneficial to me because they tag me and whatnot. And in other cases, I've been hired to actually get content for them. Um, and so yeah, if you go on a lot of the mass market lines, Instagram, you'll probably see them on there, and yeah, it's exciting to see the cruise lines use your stuff, and it gains exposure.
yep, yep. Well, I will make sure that I give you an opportunity to tell our listeners where they can see some of your work. It's been almost a year since you were here. Talk about any other cruises or travel. What's been going on with you in general?
Yeah, so I've had a few sailings since I've been on. Of course, most recently Icon, like we talked about. Last summer, I did a 7-night sailing on the Norwegian Jade, out of Greece. I visited Turkey, Israel, Cyprus, a lot of very cool exotic places. Of course, this was all before the activity going on in Israel. It would be near impossible to visit there today. So I feel kind of lucky that I got to see it at that point in time. That was an exciting sailing. And then in November of last year, I was on the MSC Meraviglia. It was supposed to go to Bermuda. We didn't go to Bermuda. We ended up going to Port Canaveral and Nassau. It was not the best cruise weather-wise. It actually sucked weather-wise. But that ship is actually a great indoor ship. There was a lot to do. A lot of great indoor spaces with their like solarium area, the sportsplex area where they have pickleball courts, they have basketball courts, they have the F1 simulator, they have the bowling lanes. So there's a lot to do indoors. So it wasn't totally horrible that the weather was bad on that sailing. And then in January of this year, I was on the MSC Magnifica. And what drew me to that was the itinerary. It's only a three-day itinerary. But in my mind, it's the best one out there. It has stops in Key West and Ocean Cay, which is MSC's private island. And Key West is always fun. Just, whether you go bar hopping or whatever you do. And then Ocean Cay is just like paradise to me. Like, it's probably my favorite private island. It's just stunning. Water's gorgeous, of course. And yeah, I the combination of it for a 3-day cruise is awesome.
How old is Magnifica? I'm not familiar with that ship.
I don't know exactly how old she is. She was in great.
Is it older or newer than Meraviglia?
Older.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's doing the 3 and 4 days out of Miami right now.
They have beautiful ships. Is it as pretty as is it pretty like Meraviglia?
I wouldn't say it's as like stunning, if you will. I mean, it's a smaller, older ship. It's just the progression of it all. But she's in great shape. I mean, I really, really didn't have many complaints.
Anything else you go on?
Not since the last time we talked. No.
So I know you sailed Virgin once, and you're about to go on Virgin. So since I finally got a chance to sample Virgin, I feel like I know a little bit. So say a little bit about Virgin. Which one did you sail? Did you sail Scarlet Lady?
Yeah, I was on Scarlet Lady last year out of Miami. Virgin. It's the whole thing is like, for lack of a better term, it's my jam. Like, the overall vibe, the elevated food offerings, the epic parties, the PJ party, the Scarlet Night party. You can get tattoos on board. I know you can't see me to those listening, but Paul can see right now. I literally have a tattoo from Virgin Voyages on my arm here. It's just everything I love. It was a great experience. And I'm just super excited to check them out again here in the near future.
Yeah, I have I'm pretty lined up for cruises through 25, but I have a clean slate starting in 26, and I don't see what will cause me to cruise another line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I loved it. I obviously with creating content and everything, like, I like to spread my love around a little bit, and experience a lot of different lines. So I don't know that I'll ever only sail one line, but Virgin is probably one of my favorite products out there.
Yeah. So since I can relate a little bit, what was your favorite cruise drink and cruise food on Virgin?
Well, that's tough. I'm gonna go with my favorite drink was the Shocktopus from
Oh
Loose
man,
Cannon.
that sounds like something I would have tried.
It's the one that comes on like that. Yeah, it's like it comes with like 5, like, I don't want to call them mini drinks. They're just in short glasses, but they come on this like stand that's shaped like an octopus, and I think it comes with like 5 or 6 drinks. But yeah, that was one that stood out to me. Food wise, Oh boy, there's a lot to choose from. I am going to have to say probably Gun Bay. I liked on top of the food being good. There was like that one crispy chicken appetizer. I forget what it was called, but like our table absolutely loved it, and like we just kept like, yeah, can you bring more? Can you bring more? And but I just like the way that especially sailing. I was solo on it, and so I got sat with other people, and playing the drinking games and doing all that stuff just made the whole experience fun.
What do you have planned beyond Virgin? You going on Valiant Lady next. What do you have planned beyond that?
So I'm literally, as we speak, so to say, I'm trying to book something for July. It's not set in stone yet, but it's likely to be Celebrity Reflection. And after that, I don't have anything booked in 2024. That will change, of course. But at this moment, I don't have anything else booked for 2024. I do have Norwegian Aqua booked for 2025, but that's pretty far out.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the first one that they're not going to have the go karts, right?
Correct. It's a new
Yeah.
class.
Have you been on? I know you mentioned Jade. Have you been on any of the NCL ships that have the go karts?
I have. I've been on Bliss. I've been on Encore. Um, I have not been on Prima or Viva. But yeah, I've been on a couple that have had the go karts.
Yeah, I have Prima coming up. Uh,
Okay.
some complaints about Prima, but it sounds like it's just right for me. Sort of a boutique hotel vibe. That's what I'm
hmm
told. So
I yeah, I feel like that'll be a good fit for you. I think maybe people with young kids, it's not the best fit, but outside of that, I think you'll be all right.
yep, yep. So Matt, how can fans follow Cruise Life Matt on social media and the internet?
So the easiest way to catch most of my content is to follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Cruise Life Matt. I also have a Facebook group. It's called Cruise Life Group, which can be found at cruiselifegroup.com. I do also have a blog site. It hasn't been a huge focus lately, but I will say that there's still a ton of great information on there. Um, Tons of reviews, port reviews, things of that nature. You can find all that at cruiselifematt.com.
Uh, before we let you go, a couple of light, even fun questions. We've changed them up a little bit because you've been here before. Unless you have any, you told me your favorite food on Version. Discover anything new since the last time we chatted?
Uh, Food wise, not really, but maybe just I can mention some drinks on Icon before we you let me
Sure.
go here. And I people like their drinks just as much as the food usually. So two drinks that I'll mention. One is if you find your way on Icon, make sure that you go check out the Rye and Bean, which is inside all the way forward of the Aquadome. Uh, the bar there is all sort of coffee or tea based drinks, but they do make one of my favorite shots, which is a mini beer, and it is essentially it looks like a beer, but it does not taste like beer. It is a shot of liquor 43 topped with heavy cream. So it's a yellow liqueur and it's topped with the heavy cream and it looks like a beer. Um, so they'll serve that at the
What's it
Ryan
called
Bean.
again?
Also, rye
No,
and
no, the
bean.
drink. What's that called again?
The drink, it's called a mini beer. Yep. And the other one I'll mention is at at the 1400 bar. The espresso martini is the only espresso martini on the ship that is shaken and served like mixed in front of you. Every other bar has the Kettle One tap or chiller, whatever you want to call it, and they just pour it out of the tap. It's not freshly shaken in front of you. So my favorite espresso martini on the ship is at the 1400 bar, which is right off of the the promenade across from the Pearl.
Hey, I didn't hear you mention when you were talking about the unlimited dining. Do they have a Wonderland on Icon?
They they do not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would have loved to have Wonderland, but it's not on board.
Unforgettable experiences? Funny, embarrassing?
Well, I feel like I kind of like peaked out on my last visit to the podcast. For those of you who maybe didn't hear, I had a little bit of a vomiting incident up on the deck.
A bodily liquids incident.
But I will mention this. As you know, I cruise a lot, and I generally like half of my bags packed at any given moment, and I add clothes or whatever it may be. But there's been a couple occasions where I've forgotten something, and a couple years ago, I forgot to pack bathing suits. How? I have no idea. I will tell you now, I will never forget them again. However, most recently on Icon, I forgot to pack dress socks. Um, and of course, I had regular socks, so I made do, and I wore my regular socks with my dress shoes all week. It wasn't the end of the world, but the point of it is even cruise experts, forget stuff, make mistakes, and yeah, I just something interesting, I guess. I like I said, there was no topping the story that I told you last time.
Yeah, I forget something every cruise. This time I forgot a hat, but I found a great one in Spain. So
Nice.
that might have been a subconscious move on my part.
Hmm.
Matt, you have a large following, so welcome to the many Cruise Life Matt fans who are listening. Uh, so that your fans and my listeners can get to know you better, let me ask a few questions that I like to ask repeat guests. So tell our listeners and your fans what's playing these days in your Bluetooth speaker, headphones, or however you consume music.
So yeah, I'm glad we had this call this week and not last week because there is a brand new song that was just released last week. It's a collaboration between Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. It is called "I Had Some Help." You may or may not have heard the song on Instagram over the last few months. Post Malone actually teased part of the song a while back, and it's been used in reels and I have to assume TikToks pretty extensively. So likely you've heard a part of the song, but the song was officially released last week, and I've kind of been waiting for like months for this to come out, and it's been on repeat lately. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. I mean, it's kind of a cross collaboration between pop and country. Yeah, it's just it's a great song, and I feel like it's going to be the song of the summer.
Yeah, I read about the collaboration, but hadn't heard the song. But when I read about it or read the headline about it, I found it intriguing.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the last live concert you attended?
Last live concert I went to was Jordan Davis at Foxwoods Casino here in Connecticut. It's actually one of the largest casinos in the world. For a while, it actually held the top spot, but it doesn't today. But yeah, he was the last live concert that I went to.
How long ago was that?
Maybe like 5 months ago ish.
I asked that question to some folks, and they dated by BC, before COVID or after COVID. Um,
Gotcha. No,
who's
this
your
is more
who's your
recently.
favorite music artist of all time?
I don't really have a favorite. Obviously I saw this question before I was on, and uh, kind of trying to rack my brain. And I think what I came up with was I tend to like what's currently popular more than following a particular artist. Um, And I know my kids will listen to this, so I'm going to tell you what their answer is. And if you ask them this, they would, without hesitation, both yelled Taylor Swift.
Okay. By the way, speaking of your kids, I'm glad they're listening, but I hope they didn't listen to the last episode. I mean, it was PG.
Oh, they definitely
It
did.
was PG, other than their dad's embarrassing moment.
Yeah, no, I like to embarrass them as much as I embarrass myself.
Who's your favorite actor or actress, or if you prefer sports, your favorite athlete? Who's your favorite person? Even leader in your field, whatever that, whichever is your number one field. You're multi-talented, of course.
Yeah, so I probably have to go with favorite actor of Liam Neeson. Taken is probably one of my all-time favorite movies, and I would say 90% of all of his movies have that similar vibe. Saving the day and taking down some bad guys in the process.
Yep. Well, you kind of answered my last question. What's your favorite movie? Any other ones you want to name?
Yeah, so obviously I said Taken was my favorite. I'd say a close second is probably Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey.
Well, there you go, Matt's fans and friends. Now you know a little slice of his life that perhaps you didn't know before. Matt, thank you for coming back on the Joy of Cruising podcast. I know that you will always be doing some great cruising, and so I consider you a leader in the cruise community, and I know that we'll have you back. Not sure when, but you can pencil it in.
All right, sounds good, Paul. I appreciate you having me on again. It's been a pleasure as always.
All right, Matt, and all the best to Cruise Life Matt, and as they say, we'll see you on the ocean. Thanks, Matt.
Hey, no problem. Have a good night, Paul.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.